this is mostly just to talk about Dan. Usually I talk a lot about like the stuff that I do at work and why that stuff is impactful and all the awards I help people win and all that kind of stuff, but really all of what I've ever done at my company is just a thin veil of, I really just want to build cool stuff. And I'm sorry in advance if I swear, because sometimes I have terrible language. Also, I'm like flipping off everyone right behind me. So over the last decade, I've been trying to get to the point of what I call internally as making the game. I graduated from Red River College over 10 years ago now, right before I founded BitSpace. I wanted to make a video game. That was my mission. I'm going to make a game. I still don't know what that game is. I was going to get creative and think of what it was, but I fell into a niche very quickly. And you'll see a little bit of that art shortly. But really, all of this was a mechanism to, I just want to play with technology. Before going to college, before all of the research and VR and AI and all this kind of stuff, I, to the surprise of no one, was interested in tinkering with computers and tinkering with technology. And I like using the word tinker because it really, to me, resonates with playing, right? So I play with technology. Can I make these computers talk together? Can I hook these up? Can I connect these things? Can I make this motor spin with electricity from coding? Can I make a game that interacts with the physical world? Stuff like that. So the first few slides are really just pictures of me doing weird things. So this is one of the first ever hand-tracked VR gloves that basically allowed you to not only track where your hands were, but you could feel what was happening in VR, like in the virtual world. Very cool. I immediately broke them. So the company that sent them to me, they were like, Dan, check out these cool gloves. I was like, these are awesome. And then the first thing I did was break all the motors. I'm told that they're still cool, but they never sent me another pair. It's pretty standard in the VR space. Go ahead and progress. So over the years, I've worked with like basically every possible. They're going to get really tired because I'm using lots of acronyms. I'm switching out all the time. So this is my Guinness Book of World Records attempt. I wanted to wear the most VR headsets at once. They bothered to respond to me. Like, I don't know why. Like, maybe it's like their policy. They have to respond to everyone who sends them in a letter. They denied it because it wasn't a practical application for the heart of the headsets. Like, I was just sitting in a pile of headsets, but it was still funny. And then sometimes I'm trying to scan my brain. The reasoning for that is I grew up in the 90s. I was born in 1990. That's only relevant for one reason, and that is I was 10 when The Matrix came out. And I got really obsessed with it. The concepts of enhancing humanity with technology, which actually is very dystopian when you really think about it. But just those themes, those concepts really resonated with me for some reason, and basically everyone else that I know. And now all we do is build devices that let us like see through screens or bring the human experience into a digital world and all those kind of things. And part of that is trying to bring your brain in. I don't actually know anything about brains, but I collect people that do. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about like, how does a brain work? My wife is a neuroscientist, so she tells me, but I don't actually know. Go ahead and progress. I'm not keeping time, so you guys can just abruptly cut me off at some point. When I was getting into technology, I decided to flip a coin. Am I going to get into software? Am I going to get into hardware? Like, what am I going to do? Because I learned very recently that I probably have ADHD and have too many interests. And I just dive into these like creative, which I only recently started calling creative, but I started diving into these hobbies. And every single hobby became part of my business, or I turned into something and took all the fun out of it for myself. But I like to show this picture because this is just an oscilloscope. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a device that lets you visualize electrical frequencies and signals. And this is just a 40 megahertz oscilloscope, but I'm running certain frequencies, and that creates art in the sound frequency. So there's like a mushroom here, and you can see like the design. It's kind of happening over there as well. I didn't know if it would work to put a video in here, so I didn't bother, but I promise you, it's very cool. So for 10 years, I've been doing this kind of stuff on the side while building experiences for people. Go ahead and progress. So for like 10 years, people keep telling me that I'm building the future whenever I like get someone's book, they'll sign it and be like, Dan, keep building the future. Or I'll sit here and say I'm building VR stuff and everyone calls it the future. But the funny thing is that like it never actually became the future. So we're like 10 years into an industry that has still had trouble getting its legs. So, I mean, how many of you have used VR before? Probably most of you at this point. I love asking that question because if you've seen me present at things over the years, or you've been in my orbit at all, or been in the same building as me, or been on LinkedIn or anything with me, I'm always asking people if they want to do VR. A decade ago, the answer was almost always no. I would show up and I would say, hey, do you want to buy a VR experience? Do you want to put this screen right in front of your eyes, right here? By the way, it's a phone in a cardboard box, and you need like 30 of them. Verinder knows. We've done some pretty cool projects in the past. But see, the thing is, that actually like sucked. like it wasn't good. I mean, it was the best we could do. It was affordable. It was the ability to put a human into a digital world. We had stereoscopic optics where you could like look around and see everything, and now you literally are in this space. I did a really cringy TED Talk all about it and how cool it was and like how it was the future. And like we did get rid of those cardboard boxes, but we replaced that with like super expensive standalone headsets, which solve the problem of needing a computer and needing to bring all this extra equipment into a space. But it doesn't solve the problem of accessibility because it's still too expensive for anybody to use. It's still too expensive to bring into a remote community. It's too expensive to take places. We work with people all the time to do those things, but it's difficult at scale. And when you look at that from like an industry perspective, we're still in a space where like I've been just churning my wheels trying to be creative in a space that just can't grow. Please progress. So it is hugely rewarding though. And the thing is that like from a personal growth journey, and when I think about the layers that make up Dan, and most people only know the tech layer. But when you think about the layers that make up Dan, I like to think of my connection to Manitoba. I like to think of my connection to, obviously, my family. I like to think about the technology that I can bring here and my very limited skill set, which is really just talking about technical stuff and making it sound exciting enough to want to put into some sort of initiative. So very, very fun at that. I'm the idea guy. Sometimes they say I'm the idea fairy, and I'll just say, what if? And I'll blow out scope. Destroy the scope immediately. My team will shake their head at me. About, I want to say, what year was this? This would have been like 2017. This is in, I think it's Woboden. No, it's Churchill. It says Churchill right on his shirt. I'm trying to figure out where I am. So just before the pandemic, I had the opportunity to go visit the North, and I had never been. So this was like 2017. They're like, Dan, you want to go to the PA? And I said, sure, I'd love to go to the North. By the way, I got snowed in. The first time I ever went, there was a blizzard. I was stuck there for like almost an extra week. But we brought a ton of headsets. And what we did is we went to a bunch of schools to expose people to technology, but mostly to expose them to construction. Because like this is with the Manitoba Construction Sector Council. We're doing workforce development here. But that trip was interesting for a couple different reasons. Because one, it started sort of a discussion around digital technology in the North and bringing it to initiatives like 4+1 with Frontier School Division and stuff along those lines to get more people talking about digital media. But what I really enjoyed was sitting with the kids in the North and saying to them, like, with this technology, you can create, and showing them what can be created, and just giving them like unlimited creativity space with the VR. So literally just setting up drop-ins with the kids so they could come to like a space and just paint in VR. That's it. There's no other framework, there's no rules, just paint what you like, see what you can create, and then walk around and share it. I also, by the way, drove over, as part of this trip, we went into Norway House and I had to drive over the ice road, and Corinne's heard me tell this story a few times, but it's, that's scary. I don't want to do that again. Don't want to, yeah. Okay, progress. Just progress again. I don't like this picture. Okay, so for like the first like decade of doing creative work in the VR space, really the niches that have landed, which I love, have been in around safety and training and workforce development and things that make me feel like I'm contributing to a community. I like doing those things because it's helping other people do better. Whether that, and I look at that through the lens of my own story, which, you'll learn a little bit about right away. But I like giving people opportunity. And so when I build technology, one of the first things I tell people is that I like to build things that exist because it needs to exist. I don't want to build stuff that exists because there's a grant. I don't want to build stuff that exists for no reason. I want to create technology that is shareable, deployable, scalable, and needed. So is it attached to helping people come home at the end of the day? Is it attached to helping preserve some sort of language or culture? Is it attached to just making something live longer or more scalable? I like including this because it's just a 3D chainsaw. But what it really is it is a screen from a game that we developed through the Research Workplace Innovation Program, entirely focused on just helping people use chainsaws a little safer. But what it also visualizes is the construction industry working together to create a video game, which seems silly at a surface level when you think about it, right? Like, if we're all thinking about video games, we're not thinking about construction companies talking about using digital technology and telling a story in a new and novel way. But that is the most effective way to use this kind of technology. So what I learned was that my creativity really is in applying this kind of technology into weird spaces. Please progress. So one of the bigger pieces of this, and it's the piece that I don't talk about the most, is my own actual life. So everyone knows Dan, the tech Dan. I come out and I talk about amazing technology, and I talk about AI and why it's going to not destroy your life, or maybe it will, I don't know. I'm either part of the problem or I'm helping you come to the future. At this point, I'm very optimistic still. But I'm also, telling you why you want to live in a digital world and all those kind of things. But really what I've been trying to do is create a future that I want my kids to grow up with, which is having access to creativity tools, being able to connect over vast different distances, which I saw in real time during the pandemic. My oldest, she's 16 and a half now, so that's crazy. I'm teaching her how to drive, kind of avoiding the winter a little bit to finish that off, but chaos. Anyways, she was like 12 during the pandemic, and one of the things that I think helped her succeed and still stay connected with people was the fact that she had an unusual amount of VR at her disposal, meaning that she could go into a virtual world with her friends and to be able to connect and hang out with her friends and chat and explore worlds and do those kind of things when they had more time on their hands than ever, which I think is great when you can avoid, the doom scrolling and the social medias and stuff. Although, VR chat has its own problems, so there's a bit of dad moderation that'll happen. But, it's still a good connection tool. Please progress. Okay, this is my oldest. She asked me what I was presenting about today, and I was like, you. So this is my baby in 2008. By the way, I'm 34. So if you do the math, I was 18 when she was born. I graduated from Sturgeon Heights Collegiate. I got a technical diploma. I studied everything: power mechanics, welding, electrical house wiring. I am a journeyman, a level 1 apprentice electrician, amongst other things. I also studied hairstyling. So if you need your hair done, I guess I'm your guy. I do my own. I do Verinders too, and Chris won't let me do his. Anyways, over the time that I've built my company, I've been raising my small army of clones. And by the way, I'm the only guy in the house, so it's all girls. You'll see lots of pictures of my girls. This is challenging. I don't talk about it a lot, but this is very challenging, especially when you're 18 and you're trying to get into technology, you're trying to build a career, and you're taking responsibility. So I will fully say, I am primary. I'm not it's a little bit too complicated to get into, but I took responsibility, and my kid lives with me full time for her whole life. Progress, please. And over that time, I've been trying to create something that she would be proud of. My littler two, who you'll see in a moment, they're 4 and they're 7, so they're not as they haven't been sentient for much of the life of my company. But what I've been trying to do is create a future for my oldest, specifically trying to show her that even though I'm open with her, even though she knows that she came early in my life, that I built something that would show her that she can create something. So everything that you've ever seen Dan do is really just smokescreen, trying to impress my kids to like succeed better and be more creative. And they are far more, thank you. We can do that at the end. Unless I'm being cut off, I might be over time. And so part of that is trying to support groups and trying to support projects that have like a social good aspect to it. And so this is a screen that I'm incredibly proud of. I know it's a little pixely, but it's blown up on a big LED wall, and it looks better for you because I'm close to it and all those things we know. But this is the medicine wheel and the cedar arches from an experience that we created with a wonderful group called Georgian College. And Michelle O'Brien runs the Indigenous language program there. And during the pandemic, we were tasked with helping them explore ways to save their program. Like they needed a way to be able to connect remotely during the pandemic to be able to continue teaching Indigenous language. Now, where that's weird is, or at least weird for me, is I'm very upfront about the fact that I am the least Indigenous person that's ever lived. So I know a lot about technology, but I don't want to tell someone else's story. And so what we ended up creating was a fantastic relationship where I worked with them and my team worked with them to create a mechanism for them to tell a story using a medium that they didn't have the tools to do so with yet. Progress, please.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, we're gonna keep going. So during that process, I got more babies. So I got Sarah and I got Katie. Sarah's 7 now, Katie's 4 now. She's feral, she was born during the pandemic. So she's like loud and likes to break stuff and is, you know, the other two are, I guess, similar, but this one is me. The other two are, they're more like my wife. But yeah, Katie unfortunately turned out like me, which is good because I know how her head works, and so I can speak to some of the things that are probably going on in there. But they all didn't get they luckily ended up with like not my physical genes. They look better than how they would come from me, so hopefully they'll get some of the like weirdness, you know, just to help them succeed in life. Progress. So this doesn't mean anything. This is just a filler slide. So I'm very open about that. So when we're creating these types of experiences, I actually use my kids as testing. So my kids have been in the mines in Valais and Hudbay. My kids have been in like power plants and all kinds of construction sites and a lot of language experiences. We now, we call him my dog. His name is Bear. But since we've worked on so many projects that are Ojibwe based, he's now called Mukwa, which is just Ojibwe for bear. Not started by me, but it stuck, and I actually like it. He likes it. For some reason, he responds to it, although he's a rescue dog, so maybe he was called that before. But when we're creating these experiences, it's interesting because I have to spend a lot of time thinking about how the users exist within a digital space. And the main reason that I put my kids in these things is not to just expose them to like a technology or expose them to a career. It is also to see like how does a small human exist in a tracked space. So like it's weird trying to think about the world both from the lens of like I'm curious about how we add a digital layer to everything we do, but also want to inspire and kind of push my kids into this like interesting space. But the funny thing is like, and I talked a lot about like inspiring them and showing them that they can do business. Well, the funny thing is like none of my kids actually like any of this stuff. They're all like painting and drawing and stuff like that. My littlest one, she's still small enough to like everything I show her, so she'll sit through it. But like the oldest, despite enjoying VR during the pandemic, she doesn't do much of it now. But she like taught herself how to create 3D assets. I got 1 more minute. I'm just gonna talk right up to the end. She's taught herself how to create 3D assets to create a world in Roblox without talking to me first, and then showed it to me. And so like it feels low when I'm showing these experiences, these types of worlds and what can be possible, and combining that with the messaging of if your dad can do it, anyone can really do it, which you know I really do believe. Like I'm just a guy, and I'm just really interested in certain things. So it's what I spend my night in. Progress, please. Just keep, you know what? Since I have less than a minute, just keep progressing. There we go. Keep going, keep going. There we go. Keith, stay here. All right, so over the last year, I've been really focused on finding my creativity again. So there's VR droughts constantly, right? So what that means is like everything affects emerging technology industries, and so like anything can like make someone want to, you know, we'll talk next quarter. We're all creative people. we all know how that is, right? So we're trying to get projects going, and there's some reason in creativity or the art projects, the innovation projects are always the first to get sidelined. And so in all of my exploration, I like this picture specifically because it lets you see more of like what, like I'm just weird. This is like a lot of pictures of Dan. My wife sent me a collage of me the other day that Google put together, and it was funny because unprompted, just every picture was just me in a weird hat or like doing something. It's like I got like Wizard Dan and like Summer Dan. This is like I'm mowing the lawn. I got like my captain's hat, all that kind of stuff. But like part of this is like just injecting sort of like silliness into what I do. So identifying and resonating that when we want to create like beautiful scenes, like the one that you see here, which is you're the first group, aside from the group up in Thompson yesterday. Both Corinne and I were in Thompson. I didn't know that you'd be here, by the way. I drove back at like 6 in the morning yesterday. We were showing off this book, and this scene comes from Speak Indigenous XR, which is a brand new world that's being created by the University College of the North. And this art is lifted directly out of a physical book that was, like all the art was created by Indigenous artists. And so what we've been doing over the last week is putting people into the first scene of that to really show them what can be done. And so understanding that like what we're doing, which is impactful and great, when you really boil it down to the steps of what we're doing, like putting a screen on someone's face and like flailing around in a virtual world, is kind of funny. And so I try to lean in on that like funniness to just make sure that when I'm creating, I'm out of time, they're gonna kick me off right away. When I'm creating, that I am enjoying myself, despite the fact that sometimes it might be challenging. But at the end of the day, it's really just all for making sure that my kids see that it is possible. So I almost view everything that I've ever done as just an introductory for them to just have that ability to know that they can do something else. And the rest of the slides don't matter. They're all random. We can close that and I'll get off stage. You can boo me off. And thanks for listening to me for a while. There we go.